Welcome to another episode of the Players Ball Podcast for AT Aliens by AT Aliens. I'm your host, Alex the Great. I'm joined by my brother from another, as always, MB. How you living, big dog? It's been a lot going on this week, man. I'm talking about worldwide sports, taxes, border,
I,
all of the above.
I haven't watched any sports live. I
Mm,
haven't done my taxes, and I
mm,
haven't been to the border. So,
mm. Oh, for three. I thought one of those would have hit, man. Nah, the it is interesting, right? All the non-sports news that's going on. We won't get into a whole bunch of that,
it's a
but
political show now.
just to yeah, just for a second, right? Bitcoin. Either nah, man. I think we got played, bro. I think the tariffs was a ploy for them to dump the price of crypto. They could swoop in, buy a bunch of stuff on the cheap before it pumped up. Which if you're hodling it, it don't matter. But
Yeah,
congrats. Why didn't they tell me?
I definitely saw it tank last night. Was it yesterday that thing started to
It was
drop
yesterday,
pretty steep? And then immediately this morning, I saw everything was going back up. I was like, man, I didn't even get a chance to buy the dip.
bro. He signed the executive order for the funding. Right, that's supposed to be for the coincidentally, that happened this morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing new, right? I mean, just follow the
Market
money.
manipulation.
Well, just follow the money of just about every politician on the hill or
Hmm.
their spouses. I know people that just look and watch what senators, family members, and stuff are buying, and that's just what they buy.
I follow an account like that on X.
Yeah.
They're a little slow moving for me, man. I haven't been in the crypto space for a while. I'm not chasing no 2% gains on a 60 day. That ain't enough, man. I need a little fiber at least. Nah, ain't nothing wrong with slow money as long as it's going up. All right, sports. The Atlanta Hawks, man. We're gonna start in the NBA. There was huge news in the NBA that we'll get to. We're gonna start with the Hawks. The Hawks are on a massive slide, 8 games in a row that we are down right now. We are playing Detroit right now, so it may be 9 games. Hopefully, we break the slide, but a lot of bad things are happening to the Hawks. One of the big ones is Jalen Johnson going down for the year. We talked last pod or maybe the one before that about Jalen and how just his injury woes are really hampering his ability to be the second foundational piece on this team behind Trey. Um, this does not help the case at all. What say ye?
Well, it was last week's episode. I will say that, and if you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's a good one. But yeah, for sure. We, you know, initially it was he was going to be out indefinitely. Then the news came shortly after, I think mid to late last week, that it was season ending. Um,
Yeah,
I can handle the nicks here and there, like need to sit a night out or two. Um, but we need you. And losing you for the season, now that's a much bigger blow. I, I really think it really puts our season in jeopardy. I mean, we talked about how important Jalen was to what this squad was trying to do. When he's on the floor, you can't just double Trey, and he's a legitimate threat at all phases of the game. So yeah, I'm disappointed, man, and I really hope that he had shoulder surgery. I think torn labrum. I really hope he heals up, gets right, and comes back and can be the same explosive player that we've seen at times next year. Because I don't know where we go from here.
I don't either, man. So it looks like Ja Morant tore his labrum. last year. I mean, he's at the point where it looks like he made a full recovery. So ideally, I was looking to see if it was something that like lingers, right? But maybe it doesn't. Everybody's built different. I don't know. It's discouraging for Jalen for sure. Um, it definitely hurts our chances of making it to the playoffs, not being a playing team because we don't have a true number two. I don't see them doing anything in the trade market. There have been some big trades, but I don't see them doing anything. One, we don't have the pieces. Two,
I don't know who.
to what end, right?
Yeah, I don't know who you go get. I've seen Brandon Ingram's name pop up a few times. I don't know if they're playing tonight, but both Bogey and Clint haven't been with the team, and that is because they are trying to move those two guys.
Yeah,
So those are the pieces. Now you can't make a trade by yourself. You got to find a partner, and I don't know who out there is shopping for Clint Capella and Bogey.
so that leads to the next topic. Um, Hawks adjacent, Luca Magic traded to the LA Lakers, right? And one thing that they say is without Anthony Davis, they do need rim protection. They need defense. Obviously, Luca's been labeled as a defensive liability. That said, they think maybe they're interested in Clint Capella.
But who would the Hawks want on their end for Clint?
We already have their draft pick for this year. They traded their 2028, I think, to get him. Um, I don't really want nobody they got. In all honesty, that's why it's a problem.
And in the NBA, the money has to match, right? In order for a trade to work. So I don't know what. Well, I know Clint's got a decent number attached to him. I don't know what the Lakers lineup looks like, but I imagine you got to find a third partner to make it all work out if you're gonna if
Yeah,
you're gonna do that deal.
yeah. I mean, essentially, it'd just be offloading Clint because you don't plan to re-sign him. Maybe get some cash back. I don't know how that aspect of it works either, right? The cash deals, the buying players, it's, it's a little weird to me. But yeah, I don't. Who knows? I think with Zion maybe not wanting to be there, man. That's kind of that's. I'll keep circling back to old Zion Williamson. But again, he's making max deal money. We don't have the money to sign another max deal player unless they want to go into the luxury tax, and they've repeatedly shown that they don't want to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. The deadline is the 6th, right? Is that
Thursday.
yeah, so Thursday. I mean, with Clint and Bogey not playing, I think we do see them moved. I just don't know to what end and how much we really get in return. It may be just a salary dump, like you said, and that'd be it.
Saying hi to Bennett. Popped in for a second. The other thing is that you know we don't have a clear number two. Shea, he recently had a good game. He was invited to the Rising Stars Challenge, so he'll be out there representing the Hawks in that, which is good. You know, he's number one overall pick. You would hope so, right? But he had a 30 pointer the other night. He shot 78% from the field, 50% from the line, so that's not great. But he's back from injury. He's playing again. Jalen Johnson being out is just going to give him more opportunity, more run. So at least we're developing our young hitter.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, if you want to look at the silver lining, the injury woes this year, um, Shea not included, has opened the door for him to really get some good NBA minutes, and even some of
Real
our other
time.
youth. So we got to see what we got. Um, Landry's got a tough job managing this roster through the rest of the season. Like you said, they're on an 8-game skid tonight. They could end that. There's still a lot of ball left. Um, I just don't know that you can go all in on what being a play-in team, just to kind of save face with this season.
Yeah, I mean, they're up right now. They're in the play-in right now. Let's see, they are 5 games out of. We'll say if we want to make to the top four or top six, really. So 3 games out of the top six. So it's not completely over, right? But it's a heavy load for Trey to carry, and I don't, he has to have help.
Oh,
I think he
100%.
What do you think about the Luca trade? Right, you had asked me, does this cement us being the Hawks as the winners in the Trey and Luca trade? Do you think it does?
I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I don't even know if you can evaluate it, because in some ways you have to look at what the Mavs got in return for Luca, and so now you're looking at Trey for Anthony Davis. Now there's a huge age gap and a very different position and set of skills, right? I will say in the last, let's call it 4 years, Trey has been more available than AD.
Oh, for
Um,
sure, not close.
he's been more important to his team than AD. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's a tough. I asked the question because we've said for many years that Trey and Luca are forever tied to one another because of the draft night trade,
Hmm.
and just evaluating the pieces. How does this trade from the Mavs to the Lakers impact that legacy? What do you think?
It actually separates them a little bit, just because if you're evaluating the franchise's decision, it's almost like the Mavs gave up on him more than they were seeking active value. They didn't want to pay him. I think it was like an extra 150 M's, which is a lot of money, right? They didn't want to give him that super max. Is what they're saying. They said he was out of shape, getting fat. He didn't look fat when he got off the plane in LA. There has to be something else there, right? And the more mystified the situation is, I think the more distance in my head it puts between that connection between him and Trey.
Yep. I've read as much as the GM is more defensive minded and still believes that defense wins championships, and Luka was a defensive liability, where AD is one of the best defensive players in the league when he's on the court.
When he's on the court, we call him street clothes for a reason. He's a baller. AD is certified, right? He's been on a bunch of all NBA teams, right? He's got Defensive Player of the Year trophies. His biggest knock has always been his availability.
Yeah, 100%.
You get to the finals and he ain't there, he's not helping you at all. Whereas I think Luca could have learned from his experience in the finals. Like they were just in the finals.
Yeah,
And they had a rookie Derek Lively, you know. They didn't have a Clay Thompson. I don't understand why I don't get it. He's getting like hate mail and death threats, and they're like protesting outside the arena down there in Dallas.
they're about to lose a ton of money. That's all I know. I think
Oh yeah.
Mark Cuban sold majority share, didn't he?
Hmm.
He
Before
bailed.
this,
Yeah, he's like, get me out of here.
yeah, yeah, he
He's so,
must have seen it right on the wall, man.
yeah, I mean, it's hard. I say it about our franchises, at the end of the day, they are businesses. You got to win to a certain degree, but you also have to have a team and a group of players or player that fans are willing to rally behind and pay money to go see. And they just
But
shipped it out of Dallas.
they did. They did.
Um, not trying to get off topic, but did you see the reception that Miggy got on his return
Yeah, no, I didn't see it. I heard him talking about it on the radio though. A couple hundred people out there, like
at the airport with signs?
getting lit,
And
ready to go.
um and that's I bring it up because you can see the parallels, right? We had talked about how the support for United has been sliding because
Mhm.
they haven't been performing well, but they also haven't had a player like Miggy or Joseph that the entire fan base just gravitates to. And you could see the love in his return. And yeah, I mean, I feel bad for Dallas fans. I've seen a few people who live out in Texas post about being heartbroken over the trade.
Yeah.
Um, we know our boy Theo is just probably smiles ear to ear in his Laker love. Um, but yeah, it's wild. I don't get it either. You know, I had to do some real stretching to try to justify why they would make this deal. Um, didn't make a whole lot of sense. I honestly had to double check the sources to make sure it was real. Yeah.
I read a news article that was saying that by comparison, there's only one or two um, professionals who are on par with Luca, better than Luca as far as statistically at this point in their careers. Will Chamberlain and Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Some elite
You don't let
company.
that walk for Anthony Davis. I wouldn't trade for Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
And I'll say I'll call a spade a spade. Luca is pound for pound better than Dre.
Oh, he's got some pounds. I'm just playing.
I mean, he's a big dude. Even without the fat jokes, he's a.
I mean, he does look like a guy who just smoked an entire pack of cigarettes and ate a Big Mac and got out on the court. But
See,
he'd
that's
be
Joker to
balling.
me. Joker looks like he does not hoop at all, but he's like the best basketball player in the world right now.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely looks goofy, uncoordinated,
Yeah, out here
silly.
riding mini horses, right?
But don't get it
Like a
twisted.
giant.
Serbian be balling.
Oh yeah, he's getting off. There was I saw this other article talking about Giannis, how he wanted all the big market teams to have a European player leading the way. Right? He's like, yeah, Luca to LA, Joker to the Knicks. He didn't say himself. Milwaukee not a big market team, right? But that was just his proposed dream. Like, nah, man.
Speaking of the Euro League game, Adam Silver came out and said he was in favor of shortening the quarters to play. Is it 4 10-minute or 4 12-minute quarters?
Or 10 minutes. It's 12 now.
Uh,
He's talking about 12. 10.
what's your thoughts? Like, how do you feel about that idea?
Um, I don't really like the changes that have come with our adoption of global basketball standards. Right, the scoring is outrageous, and that's not all because of Europeans in the league. But we talked about it. That was probably a year ago at this time. Talking on Gil's Arena, where you know Europeans aren't. They don't. There's not a defensive mindset in their games. Obviously, if you're Wimby and you're 8 feet tall, it's just easy to block shots, right? That's a part of your game. But as far as everyone else, that's just not something that is focused on over there. Like he said, his point was you learn to play defense in college. That's why they made you go to college, learn to play defense. Um, but the defense is atrocious. It's all long ball, and I know chicks love the long ball, but I'm not super interested in that. If we go to I don't. It's not too big a deal to me, but I mean, it feels like we're starting to produce an inferior product. Well, it doesn't feel like it is an inferior product, and the the fan reviews will tell you that.
So to me, to even explore stuff like this, like you got to ask what drives you to even be brainstorming these ideas, right? And it has to be the lack of fan engagement across the league, right? The decline in uh, viewers for the NBA. And I know in other sports, baseball is a big one, who, when evaluating why they were losing fans, one of the topics was the game was boring, right? It was too slow. The games were 4 hours long. So what did they do? They instituted a pitch clock. And the pitch clock has been successful. And I do think it has helped bring some fans back. I don't think it's been groundbreaking in that regard, but it just kind of feels like the NBA is reaching and they're searching in the wrong areas for how to improve the the fan involvement and entertainment value of the sport, right? To me, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
So with the MLB and that pitch clock, I did see something on that I want to read you. Um, Going back from to 2014, the MLB has increased revenue from a reported 9 billion to 12.1 billion. So it's a 33% increase in the last 10 years. One of the larger jumps was from this most recent years.
Yeah.
So maybe that pitch clock is that. I mean, that sounds like tangible gains. I don't know that you can apply all of that to the pitch clock, but I agree with your point wholeheartedly, right? That they made a change, and that change is paying dividends right now. Now, as far as the NBA, this isn't even the first thing that he's kind of talked about. He's talking about the three ball, and we still don't know how he would manage that. But yeah, you can't change basketball in order to get fans to watch basketball, right? I don't know how you go back to the basics, but
Start letting them fisticuffs out there on the court. This
yeah,
soft.
maybe a little less fouls, right? Stop. They tried to stop the flop, which maybe that's worked too. I don't. But then it's just everyone shooting threes.
Yeah.
It's hard to call fouls. Hard to call a lot of fouls on that. I don't know. There's definitely some room for improvement in the NBA.
I say they just get rid of 3-point line altogether.
Maybe add a 4 point line.
Go what is that? The big three that has a 4-point shot?
Yeah,
Start
you go
playing half
slam
court.
ball, put some trampolines down in the in the paint.
Yeah. But either way, they definitely have a problem when it comes to the loss of viewership. And I wouldn't want to be Adam Silver, but I just don't think changing the format of the game, specifically the length, is necessarily a high benefit.
ROI.
Yeah, like a high reward, high benefit change.
Your boy, your doppelganger, old Squid Billy.
My
His
doppelganger.
idea was, well, not your sports mentality doppelganger. You don't look like him. He was saying that why do they need 82 games? Right? Maybe you increase viewership by making the games more meaningful, decreasing the number of games played. It's a long season, right? You start in October, and the NBA finals don't end until almost May.
Is that not the whole point of the in season tournament?
Well, they're not increasing the games though.
No,
They're
but
increasing importance.
they're trying to increase the importance. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that is the purpose.
Maybe they
Is it
should.
working? I paid attention a lot more with the Hawks being a little better this year.
Maybe they decrease the number of regular season games and add like a Euro League tournament, kind of like soccer has like Champions League in you know the European leagues, and then here in the U.S. you have like the Lamar Hunt uh, USA Cup, or
Mhm.
now there's a Campeones Cup, or
CONCACAF.
there's CONCACAF, but CONCACAF is
That's like every couple of years, right?
yeah, but those are the national teams. I'm talking about actual clubs that play against teams from other leagues for a tournament.
Mm,
So Champions League takes the champions from previous seasons and puts them, because you have the Premier League, which is England, you have the Spanish Premier
right.
League, you have um, the Italian leagues, you have the German league, Bundesliga,
Deutschland,
Bundesliga.
Bundesliga.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you have all these different leagues. So like the NBA and the G League and the European leagues and all these different leagues that come together and their teams play each other in tournaments during the
Mm.
season. I don't know, maybe something like that would be fun.
Because they did a little bit of that in the preseason, as far as I think there was an Australian team that came over this way. There was a French team that played like in Philly or Houston, and then mid-season they had the pairs games. I think that was a week or 2 weeks ago, where they sent the NBA teams over there to play in pairs. So they're definitely looking to expand the game globally. You know, make more customers. That's the other reason I don't think they'll decrease the number of games, because you're just taking money out of your pocket unless you see another way to make that
Well, see, that's what I
that
was
money back.
saying. So the total number of games maybe played is say 82, but the regular season that leads to the NBA playoffs and finals is shortened because those extra games are played
Mm,
in these other cups. So you still get the product over the same length of time,
right.
but you switch it up so that it's not just 82 games straight of 3-point contests.
3 point jack off, you know.
Pause.
Pause. Oh man, yeah, man. Something's got to give, and maybe it doesn't. Right? They're making money hand over fist, so
Yeah.
I guess maybe they know what they're doing. Maybe they don't.
Yeah.
We shall see. Time will tell on that
Like I said, I
one.
wouldn't want to be Adam Silver. I wouldn't want to be Landry Fields right now. I don't know that I would want to be Alex Anthopoulos either.
Yeah, man. So, AA, he talked about how all these, he's been through so many different types of off season. When you got the blitz of people coming in and going in, then you have your quieter ones like we're having now. Not just seeing two deals. We talked about pitching, how we need another starter there. You'd like to pick somebody up. If we're gonna pick somebody up, I would love for them to be a front line, in the running for another ace spot. Right? I saw Max Scherzer, he signed for 15 million, 1 year, 15 million deal. I'm like, man, why didn't we do that? Saw Jack Flaherty, his was a little more. It was 2 years for like 31 million or 32 million. I'm like, that doesn't seem like a ton of money considering these articles about how much money MLB and these teams made.
It's also, when you look at it, compared to, I'm going to use Charlie Morton because he's the easiest example. But Charlie made $20 million last year from the Braves.
Yeah.
So to go get a Jack Flaherty or even a Max Scherzer, yes, there are some injury concerns with Scherzer over the last couple years, but there were concerns with Morton. There were concerns with the NL Cy Young, Chris Sale. So I mean, you were willing to gamble at $20 million for a 1 year deal. I don't understand. I mean, to me, in a year's time, 15 million is a lot less just due to the inflation, right? Like that's really
Yeah.
like 26 million
What Charlie was
what
getting, right?
Charlie would have gotten. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't really understand it. Some other kind of news on the pitching front is they released Bryce Elder. He is no longer a
Uh,
Bryce. Well, good riddance, but at the
long
same
time coming.
time,
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
you drafted him. You drafted him behind Spencer Strider. He made an NL All Star game in his rookie year, and you were kind of expecting him to be a piece. Now, I don't know what happened. Was it the yips? Was it the league caught on to, what his stuff is? Because he was a finesse guy, right? Like he's not going to overpower anybody. I don't know what the cause for the demise was, but it was steep, it was fast, and it was brutal. And every time he stepped on the mound, I hated to see it.
He was off a cliff, man.
Yeah. But he's
The
gone.
steepest of
So
declines.
you got no Bryce Elder. You got no Max Fried. Um, you got no Charlie Morton. Those three guys that you had start games last year for you, and you haven't brought anyone in to replace them. So one can only assume that AA is counting on some of these young guys that haven't started or haven't started very much to step in and fill that role. I think that's an awful big gamble.
We talked about it, and I was looking at those guys, and that does seem like that's the play, right? Like Ian Anderson was one of the ones that we talked about. Who was the other young guy? Swellenbach he's a starter for
Yeah.
sure. Who's the other? He's a rookie.
Hurston Waldrop,
Yeah, Christian
AJ Smith
Walker
Shawver.
and Smith Shawer. Yeah, those two. Charlie Morton, they can slide one of those guys in and replace him, but you got Max Fried, and now to your point, Bryce Elder, he had a lot of shots last year. He threw some games.
Yeah, he ate innings. They
You
weren't
need a
always.
body out there to replace him for sure.
Yeah, you got to have someone to just take innings, and they weren't always pretty, but he at least got them in the books. And you just don't know what you're gonna get from Spencer Strider. I know he's young. He's a vegan. He should heal quite well. I mean, he's got a pretty hefty fitness routine. Dude has like the biggest legs I've ever seen on a pitcher.
Yeah, thighs. You can say pause.
Oh.
Thunder thighs. Pause.
But either way, there's every reason to believe he'll come back healthy and he'll be ready to go, but you just don't know. Tommy John surgery is no joke. It has improved over the years. It used to be a career killer. Now you see guys come back from it all the time, but the more time you can allow that to heal and rehab, I think the more likely you will have longevity with the repair. This is his second Tommy John of his career. First in the majors, but second in his lifetime. So to just put all the eggs in the, Spencer's going to come back and be the ace that he was basket. Again, I think it's a big gamble.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with Ronnie, right? Like to count on him to carry this offense next year or this year.
They're
I mean,
not even. He's not even expected to return until after at least a month into the
yeah,
season.
and that's how it went last year.
And when you're talking about baseball, right? I mean, they play dang near 7 days a week. So for a full month, I mean, we're going to be 30, 40 games into the season before we see Ronnie.
Yeah. Yeah, and at that point, it feels like that. I mean, that may be a little too far behind.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna need
Philly
to.
spent a bunch of money.
Phillies spent a ton of money. I don't want to talk about the Dodgers. We all know that story. The Mets have spent a ton of money. Those are two division rivals.
Yeah,
So we'll have to wait and see. Spring training reports soon, and there's still time to make moves. But right now, I'm not feeling too confident about what we're rolling into 25 with as the Atlanta Braves. Now, I did see a prominent star out west kind of echo some of the same sentiments about his club, and that was Manny Machado uh, saying how he was kind of displeased that the Padres, after the year that they had last year, haven't gone out and really done anything.
yeah, they've lost people too, right? I mean, we took one. We took Profar from
Yeah.
him. You think he wants to be traded?
Manny,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's there yet, but maybe, maybe,
Approaching. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think it will be one of those things. If the season starts out rough for them, he may be asking for a trade.
And I know we need pitching, right? But like feels like Mike Trout would be a name we could get at a real discount, right? Bring on Mike Trout. I'm all for giving these once proven stars. Give them a year, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead and throw them some money. Give them a year. See what shakes out. And if you make a big push, you reward them and you bring them back. Some people just need a change of scenery. He's been getting hurt out in LA for so long, right? Give him a new home, man. Set him free. Same thing with my dog Zion, man. Set Zion free.
Yeah.
He
I
don't want to be there.
um I don't know if he would be a locker room cancer, but if Manny was to be on the block, I do believe he played shortstop earlier in his career, and that is a
Yeah.
position of need. I don't want to put all my eggs in the Arcia basket either. He's been a liability at the plate. He's projected to bat ninth, as he should because he sucks. Um, but yeah, I mean, it if he's available, I'd take a flyer on him if he's not just have a terrible locker room reputation, and that's something um, I think the Braves have really done well in years past, and that's just have a really good clubhouse vibe, clubhouse mentality, brotherhood. I got to hear Money Mike, on the radio. I think it was Friday. They interviewed him, and he was talking about just that. And one thing that I really liked, he told a story about. I think it was 2023. He was having a slump, and he was coming off the a rookie of the year, and he was just kind of down on himself. And of all people, Marcelo Zuna came in and was like, "Dude, you're better than this. You're good. Just go out there and hit the ball like you know you can," or like just kind of gave him
Mhm.
that pep talk and that confidence reassurance. And sure enough, he took off after that. And I really liked hearing that kind of story, especially about a guy that's kind of polarizing like Marcelo Zuna, who gets a lot of hate, especially in the media from some transgressions that he's had. Um, but what people don't see, that don't they don't hear these stories too often about what kind of teammate he actually is. So it's cool to hear Money give him those props.
That is a good story. What was my man's name? He wore the pearls.
Oh,
Jock.
Jock Peterson.
Jock seemed like a douchebag, man. If I'm being keeping it a buck, but he seemed like he was the man in the locker room. Like they loved Jock.
Yeah,
So
I
maybe Manny could do that, but
I get the same vibes. But
from Manny.
no from Jock. Like he's just kind of a
Oh yeah.
weird, full of himself, and There's a guy out there, a pitcher that kind of fits that mold that's unsigned that I've been kind of vying for 12 months now.
Maybe that's the play.
Bring in Trevor Bauer.
You could get Trevor Bauer for the low of lows at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he would already be here if that was going
Yeah,
to
he
happen.
could be one of them.
He is at least slated to play in Japan again this year if no one signs him. But he should be in the league. 100% he should be in the league.
Yeah, yeah, I do see he's slated to return to Japan. The Bay Stars.
Yeah. He won a championship in Mexico.
Hey, a chip's a chip, right?
I mean, he's making
Oh
his
no. Trevor Bauer, who recently resigned in Japan for the 2025 season, made quite the stir on social media Tuesday night, even going at it with Hall of Famer Chipper Jones. And
well, that's
he's a
not
de
a good
facto
sign.
coach, man. No, it's not. It's not a good sign.
Chipper is a de facto coach, but so is Trevor Bauer. He has all kinds of pitching instructional
Yeah, but not with our organization.
yeah, Chipper's no longer a true coach for our organization.
He gonna be there.
Oh yeah. He is probably the biggest face of our generation uh for that club. Period.
Did Andrew Jones make it into the Hall of Fame?
Not yet. They're gonna rob that man. It's gonna be the worst robbery in the history of sports.
Because they announced the 2024 class, right?
I believe so.
Like Ichiro.
Yeah. I don't know how many more chances Andrew has. Uh they need to put that man in the hall.
Yeah. Nah,
One
100%.
of the greatest center fielders of all time.
Period. Bar none.
But yeah, so from
That man slander, man.
oh, I know. Well, it's really just Andrew Jones slander. I don't get it. But from
Shouldn't have been a Brave. He'd be in.
oh, we got plenty of Hall of Famers.
I mean, not him. They gotta leave somebody out.
I mean, they
Who's
put
in there? Chipper, all of our pitchers. Like the
Chipper,
top big three.
uh, Fred McGriff made it recently.
Mm-hmm.
Hank Aaron, Dale Murphy.
You going way back. I thought you were talking about our Braves.
Well, our Braves were Smoltz, Glavine, Maddox, Chipper, Fred McGriff. Did David Justice get in?
Is David Justice in? I don't think so.
We'll have to look that up. But yeah, I mean, we have a few. But yeah, we were talking about some disgruntled players potentially, asking for a trade. Some rumors in the National Football League are Myles Garrett has requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. And we've talked extensively about how poor the Falcons' defensive line, defensive front, pass rush has been over the last couple years. Are you going out trying to get Myles Garrett?
Yeah, man. Maybe we can ship them Kurt Chains. I don't know how the money would work, but you gotta at least ask.
Yeah, I think if we trade Kirko, all things standing right now, it would still be like a 30, 35, $36 million cap hit.
It's still shit. Yeah.
But you get Myles Garrett in return.
Who's the dog? I would love to have Miles Garrett. I think you at least have to make the call. Like, hey, what are you guys looking for? You know,
Then
I'm giving up the first round. Period.
now they need a QB, even though they have Jameis. Shout out Jameis. He's a character,
American treasure.
very very entertaining. Um, but they got all that money tied up in Deshaun.
Hmm.
Do they take a third massive contract in Kurt? I guess Kurtz isn't terrible for the position and for what he has remaining. And
Yeah,
what?
I mean, it would be 1 year, and then they could, let him walk if they didn't like what they saw.
Yeah, it's still a lot of money that they're gonna have tied up if it were to go down in that position. Period. But I guess that's gonna be the case no matter what, unless you roll out Deshaun Watson every week as your QB1.
And he had season-ending injury. Who knows what kind of shape he comes back in?
Yeah, but it's not really about the play from him. It's the money.
Yeah,
Because I don't think anyone is expecting him to be their starter next year.
think it's over.
I do.
You gave him a fully guaranteed contract. You might as well give him a fully guaranteed shot, right? That money's spent. The
300 milli, fully guaranteed.
money's spent. You got Miles Garrett out here making 125 mil for 5 years, with 25 a year.
But as we said in the opener or earlier, you got to have a product that's going to put butts in seats. And I don't know that
He,
Deshaun Watson's going to put butts in seats for
oh
the
yeah, no, I
Cleveland.
don't know that he will. Miles Garrett being a Falcon definitely will.
Oh, absolutely. You'll see Miles Garrett jerseys all over the bins.
Yeah, man, that keep Terry out that hot seat.
Have you had a chance now to look at any of the Jeff Ulbrich stuff? Have you?
I watched that one interview that you were telling me about with we shouted her out. Oh, shout out Will, man. He wanted us to he put a comment on the last video, so we appreciate you watching, Will, man. Um, keep watching. We'll get to that question too about Mr. Pitts. We've talked about him before, but we'll get to that. With Jeff, I just watched that one interview where he more or less said he's gonna run Raheem scheme, the one that you put me onto. I haven't watched anything else on
Yeah,
it.
the other thing he said that we didn't really talk about was, when he was in New York, he saw when he became the head coach how he had a bunch of yes men in that locker room, other coaches. I think he used the word lying, but essentially just not being forthcoming about things that were going on with their units. Just trying to tell me what you think I want to hear instead of what I need to hear. And he has said adamantly that even though him and Terry go way back, that he's not going to be a yes man to Terry, or not Terry, but
Hurrah.
to Raw, and that they're going to have a collaborative relationship, but he's not going to be afraid to tell him how it is, which I think is, encouraging, especially because I know some of your fears are he's just Terry's boy. He's just going to be, you know, a puppet for Terry, do whatever Terry, or not. I keep calling him
Right.
Terry. Whatever
You want
Raw.
him fired so bad, you can't get his name out your mouth, man.
No, man. I honestly don't. I
No,
wanted
I know you
I
don't.
want it to work out for Terry for sure. But no, he's not going to be a yes man to Raw. He's not going to just because they're boys, um, just let him, be the puppet master. So I didn't know if you had an opportunity to hear any of that, and how do you feel about him just kind of openly talking about that?
I mean, it's encouraging. I'll say that. I agree with you there that, some discourse can definitely grow people, right? Iron sharpens iron. You got to use your sword in order for that to happen, though, right? So if that's what he's saying he's willing to do, be a voice in that discourse within the locker room. That'll be good.
I've used this one a lot in um, my career uh, as just an example, but um, several years ago, I read a book. It's called "How the Wise Decide," and one of the core principles is to fill the room with barbarians. And the idea is that you want discourse, you want people that are so passionate about their ideas that they're willing to fight for them. Now, you don't want physical violence or physical altercations, but you want at least a a debate. You want discourse. You want people who are going to um, really put passion behind their ideas and their wishes and their wants. And ultimately the idea is if you fill the room with these quote unquote barbarians, that what happens in the end is you get the best of both worlds, because you end up finding something in the middle that is a combination of both. So the hope is that Ra and all of his coaches, that when they are passionate about these concepts or how they want to go with their units or with the build of this team, that they're willing to just debate it out and then come to some middle that ultimately is the best of all the options available.
I wouldn't be mad at obviously, physically fighting. Sometimes you don't come back from that, right? But sometimes you do, right?
Yeah.
We had a little tip, right, in Theo's room over a video game, 20 years ago, and we're stronger for it. Maybe Ron and Jeff. I agree. I want there to be barbarians in the room, right? The thing that was coming to mind, and the last person that I heard say it shouldn't have been saying it, but it was you had the the comment that weak men make hard times make strong men make easy times make weak men, right? But that you would rather have a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And that's kind of what I got out of that. We want warriors that are passionate about what they're saying. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Have some passion behind it, stand on business respectfully, and then move forward with the phoenix that comes from those ashes, man.
Yeah. I agree. So we are getting close on time. I don't want to neglect my boy Will's comment and question and idea. So just to piggyback off of what you're saying, someone who comes across as not being strong, not standing on business,
That
just
gardener in a war.
just kind of being a presence, um, just existing, right? I feel that Kyle Pitts just kind of exists on this team. You don't see any fire from him. You don't see any blood, guts, and sweat and tears on Sundays. Now, it could just be his nature. He could be the most passionate player. It's just the way it projects on the field, right? He doesn't do a lot of interviews. He I feel like he's a pretty soft-spoken individual. Um so I say all that, it's just I'm not trying to slander the man, but he just doesn't come across as that type of mentality that we just described earlier.
And because of that, I'm ready to let him move on into less violent pastures, man. Maybe we can
Outside the
get him
game?
up to Cleveland too. No, he can stay in the game. Just I don't necessarily want him to wear the Falcon anymore. I think that's kind of what I was talking about with Mike Trout. Like sometimes a change of environment is best for everybody. Feels like that's what's best for Kyle Pitts. Now, if we can use him to get a Miles Garrett, what's my man's name for Oakland or Vegas, the Raiders defensive end,
Max Crosby?
Max Crosby. He was on a pod recently talking about how he's just kind of sick of restarting. He came in with, and now his running mate is gone. He had success in the playoffs in Green Bay. Josh Jacobs came in with Josh Jacobs. Obviously they had a slow start, slow burn, and then they gained some momentum under one coach. They wanted that coach to be the next full time coach. He took over interim when somebody was fired, and instead of giving him the job, they handed it to Josh McDaniels, who tanked. And then they gave it to somebody else, or John Gruden. John Gruden had him cooking, and his tie-in to the Commanders owner got him fired. That's when they had the interim coach who actually did successful things. They wanted him to stay, and then from there, Josh McDaniels came in and it was a reset. And then Antonio Pierce to come in, and now they're firing him, and it's another reset. He's like, man, I'm tired of doing that.
Now I
We got
do
to get a player like that. I want that caliber of defensive end. They're not in. I don't know if they're in the draft.
I do think the Pete Carroll hire though is a good one for Vegas, and I do think him being a defensive guy might, hold Max Crosby to stay in I want to say Oakland, but Las Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
but stay with the team. We'll see how that shakes out. Another name that I have heard is Khalil Mack as a
Yeah, he's a
potential.
free agent.
But yeah,
Chase Young was another one I saw
Chase
that we
Young.
could probably get him for the low from. He's a free
Yeah.
agent with the Saints, so we could probably get him for a good deal. I'm with you. Just a second, what you were saying about Pete Carroll. I think the Pete Carroll hire is a solid one. But if you're Max Crosby, do you want to stick around for a rebuild? Right. I mean, he's coming in and he's coming in to be successful, but he's not going to be successful year one. He doesn't have a quarterback.
I was gonna say
It seems like they just have Max Crosby.
I do think that they're a QB away from being a competitive team. Um,
mm,
I don't know where they're gonna get that unless they pick up a Shador Sanders maybe or Cam Ward, but I don't know that either of those guys are going to be available for him. Um,
Kirk Cousins.
I mean, we
No,
can we can send our second quarterback out there. He can go play with D Riddy. Um,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, we'll have to see. But as far as getting back to Kyle Pitts, I'm kind of on the fence, right? Like it depends on what you get in compensation on whether or not I would move. Now, if it was like a Miles Garrett, Kyle Pitts, straight up trade, I think I'd lean towards taking that. I think you could fill.
Lean towards.
I think you. I think I take it. Okay. I think I think you can fill the gap that Kyle leaves pretty easily, either through free agency or even in the draft. I just think it will, and maybe this is me just wanting to hold on too long and hope for the 1,000+ yard receiver that we got in his rookie year. I think it looks bad for Terry if you move on from Kyle Pitts and he has success elsewhere. And he was Terry's first draft pick in Atlanta. So for that one to be a bust, that's a stain that I just don't know that you get rid of unless we win a Super Bowl. Like a Super Bowl will cure anything.
Or a Miles Garrett. If he can get rid of Kyle Pitts and bring in Miles Garrett, all is right in the world.
Is it? You're
Yeah,
I think you're making
it's
some
part of Terry's
assumptions.
world.
I think you're making some assumptions on what Miles Garrett brings in terms of performance to this team, right? Like you are saying that
I
Miles
am.
Garrett comes in and our defense is dominant. We aren't in the back in sacks. We're in the playoffs and winning in the playoffs. Like that's your assumption.
That was a lot. I would say our sack totals go up and our defense is marginally improved.
But what if
If
our offense drops off?
it won't be because Kyle Pitts isn't there. I
Hey,
mean,
I'm playing devil's advocate here, okay?
I feel you, but that won't be it,
Yeah.
right? His production was 47 catches, 600 yards, 4 touchdowns. We were to compare that with the other tight ends in the league, I'm sure we could find a free agent that can bring that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed, like I said, to moving on from Kyle. I think it has to make sense. I do wonder, let's say we bring in Miles Garrett and he's just average and Kyle Pitts goes up to Cleveland, unlikely, but has a breakout year. Does that reflect bad on Terry?
Not if we bring in a piece that we need. And Miles Garrett would be a monumental improvement of what we have, right? I mean,
If he maintains
sack
the
totals,
level that we
he's
expect
not
him to.
30. Yeah, if he maintains the level we expect. Um, he's had, yes, 14, 14, 16, 16, 12, 10, 13 and a half. His rookie year, he had 7 sacks. It's been up since then.
Let's go get him.
Let's go get him.
Is
At
there
least ask. That's what I'm saying.
is there anyone else out there that you would think or be wanting to make a Kyle Pitts trade for?
Um, Trey Hendrickson with the Bengals. I want a stud defensive end, man. I want somebody that's gonna get back there and go crazy.
If we were to do that, Hendrickson or Miles Garrett for Kyle Pitts, and they turned around and drafted a tight end in the first or second round, would you be pissed?
No, one, I don't see them doing that. That that's like I don't know if you know the Dallas guy. I might have said this already. The Dallas GM is getting like death threats and graffiti outside of the arena. There are active protests about Luca being traded down there. Right.
Yeah.
That's that Terry would be out the door if he drafted a tight end in the first 2 rounds for sure. Fire him day of the draft. So that's one part. The second part though is even if you had asked this earlier, if he went somewhere and was super productive, that is Kyle Pitts. I'm not mad at that either. As long as you're bringing in, so we did it this past year with Matthew Judon. He is not of the caliber of the 3 defensive ends that I've named, right? As long as an upper echelon, a tier one, let's call him a tier one defensive end, I'm good.
Do you think the compensation we gave up for Matthew Judon is equivalent to giving up Kyle Pitts for one of those guys?
What was it? Do you remember?
I believe it was a second round pick. It could have been a later round. It was draft picks.
A second.
No, it wasn't
Second
a second.
round. Okay.
Because
Third round, maybe.
we still have our second. Maybe it was a fourth.
Well, we lost our fourth for pumping the noise in, so we don't have that this year. Or no, this it was for tampering. We lost the fourth for tampering with Kirk.
Maybe it was a future. I'm gonna look it up real quick and then
Mike Gesicki. So I'll comment while you're doing that. Mike Gesicki.
third round draft pick.
Third round for Matthew Judon.
Yeah.
Mike Gesicki's a free agent. Last year he had 65 catches, 2 touchdowns. We could sign him and not really miss anything. Kyle Pitts had 47 catches. He had the 4 touchdowns, but
He's a better blocker, I think, too. And that's what yeah, and that's what
Austin Hooper is a free agent too.
bring Hoop back.
9 catches, three touchdowns. Yeah, bring Hoop back.
And that was what our boy Will was getting at was, you move on from Kyle Pitts, maybe you lose something in the receiving game, but you could pick up a better blocking tight end to help Bijan and even Michael Penix stay clean. So, I mean, I'm with it.
Think about that mentality on the field, right? With Bijan. Every time I see Bijan do press, man, he's smiling, but he's excited, he's happy. But when he's running that rock, he's trying to embarrass you. Like
But it,
he's trying to score every time. You can see his aggression on the field, and I just don't see that out of Kyle
but
Pitts.
you also at the end of the year heard the hurt in Bijan's voice when we were missing the playoffs, and he was like, "I'm ready to go play tomorrow."
Right.
And that's that love, that's that, want, that drive that you just don't see out of Kyle Pitts. So I I won't be surprised if we trade him, but I also won't be surprised if he's here just because, like you've said on other players, that money sunk. This is his last year. He did have a productive rookie year. Um, maybe it's a last hurrah. Maybe he'll be
Well, that's
fighting
the
for a
thing, though, right?
contract, right? Because his future is uncertain past this year.
Somebody will definitely take a flyer on Kyle Pitts for
Yeah.
sure, right? Just based off of what he did his rookie year, what he did with the Gators, somebody will take a pass on him. And because you know that, I would like to try to get something for him now.
Are you upset with the way that things went down with Vic Beasley when he left here? Because it's almost a identical story, right? Productive rookie year, then didn't do much, never really had that dog mentality, especially not in the media. He bounced around for a year or two after uh, getting let go, and now he's out of the league.
Yeah. So you say, am I mad at the way it went down?
Yeah, because we didn't trade him, right? We didn't get any compensation, right? Like it just bygones be bygones. We tried, we gave you a final year to prove it. You didn't. Yeah, you got picked up, but you really didn't make it but like 2 more years in the league.
Yeah. 2 more years, no starts. He played in 5 games each season. I mean, I'm not mad at it. Um, it's not a huge deal to me. I just want if you do have the opportunity to strike while the iron is hot. Now this iron ain't super hot, right? But
I don't know that it's Miles
it's a little
Garrett,
warm.
Max Crosby, or Hendrickson hot. I mean, you're definitely giving up other pieces, I think, to get those guys,
Oh yeah, yeah, and maybe a pick too.
which we don't have a lot of.
What's Les Miles? Is that his name? The GM for the Rams. F them picks, man. They haven't turned out now over the last years. I mean, I've been a avid supporter of our picks over the last couple of years. With even when Kyle Pitts was picked, I was a supporter of that, right? But I don't know. I think
John Lynch definitely said F them picks with trade them all for Lance. Um, oh, what's his last name?
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance. Thank you. That is his last name. Trading all those picks for Trey Lance, and then now you got Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy at the helm.
They had three, maybe four, but at least three back to back appearances in the NFC Championship. I think his formula worked. They weren't able to get past Mr. Mahomes. He feels like he's in his Jordan era, right? He stopped so many people, specifically in the AFC, because they got to go through him. He's been in all these consecutive AFC title games. If Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, finish their career without rings, it will be largely because of Patrick Mahomes. I say that to say if it wasn't for him, the Niners would have a championship over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
don't. but the strategy was strong, right?
Yeah. So I want to end on that then. We got a Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. What's your pick?
I'm going Chiefs, man. I like to see. There's a lot of naysayers out there, a lot of haters. I'm cheering for greatness.
Let a
Get us.
naysayer know.
Let a naysayer know. Yeah, yeah. Who said that? I forget what it was.
I think it was Reese Davis who said it on game day, talking about Jalen Milrose Lank shirts.
There you go. Yeah.
And everybody freaked out because they thought he was gonna say what everyone
Yeah.
thinks that Lank
Yeah.
probably means.
Hmm.
But anyways, I'm with you. I'm going Chiefs. Even though all them
Yeah.
dogs on the other side of the field, I just
That's
can't.
kind of surprising.
Kind of surprising.
Yeah.
I just can't let Carlos bask in the glory. It's
Um,
also cool, right? Man, I don't want to talk about it too deep, but there are really two types of people that tune in, and what brings viewership. You're gonna have the fans of the teams that are playing; they're automatically gonna watch. But the other
mhm.
is the bigger storylines. You're gonna have the people that are watching just because they want to see the demise of the Chiefs. And then you're
Yeah.
going to have the other group that are going to watch just because they want to witness something that's never happened before.
Hmm.
And I fall in that category. I do think that it would be cool to see a team three-peat because it's never been done.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
And
Uh,
Carlos tears feel good.
they do they would feel good. You know, he was at my house 2 years ago when they lost. You know, my mom's from Kansas. She was there with, throwing it in his face. And what's he gonna say to her? Right? Nothing. So he's clearly having it at his crib this year
you
for good reason. Maybe bring him better luck.
you going?
I don't know. We found out we had a birthday party that Grayson is super excited about across town. Um, it may be tough to get to it. It's probably gonna be one or the other. Uh, like go to the birthday party and then find somewhere near there
Yeah.
to watch, or go to Carlos's crib. So I'm not quite sure yet.
You looking forward to any Super Bowl food dish? Or are you just rolling with it this year? Just whatever you happen to get.
It's any excuse to get some JJ's wings. Um, so I have those on a regular basis. That wouldn't be a Super Bowl exclusive. We get Brittany loves Rotel dip. Like we had that last week, or maybe that was Saturday. We had nachos. She made some Rotel dip with some shredded chicken. So that's not something. I eat wings all the time. There isn't any pageantry to the food that I eat around the Super Bowl because I'm eating it year round. Maybe I should make it special by stop eating so much trash and just save it for Super Bowl.
Yeah. I eat wings year round, but I don't eat them often. So I think I'm gonna order some wings.
Oh, you should, man.
Yeah, I will make them from time to time, either on the grill or in the air fryer.
Mm,
So they're not the same as true buffalo wings, but yeah, man,
yeah,
we'll have to see, is history made, or do the Philly Dogs get one? All those national champions, do they get themselves an NFL championship to add to their trophy case? We'll have to see. Hopefully, our
time will
team.
tell.
I want to see the Dirty Birds, not the Philly Birds, up there next year.
Yeah,
It would have been so
yeah.
nice to win it in New Orleans too.
Oh man, right?
Yeah, but
I might have went. Figure out a way to make that one happen.
yeah, but anyways, we have now passed the 1 hour mark, so we appreciate all y'all listening. Like, subscribe, comment. If you leave us a question, we will talk about it. So we appreciate you, Will, and everyone else. Appreciate you too. Hit that notification, like our
Ding.
get our TikTok and Instagram, and we'll see you on the flip. Peace.
Peace.